Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Technique Talk, the MYK System, and more. So today I have something different. We have an AI-generated conversation, and I've listened to it, and there's a little bit of things. So I'm going to pause the audio here and there to correct a couple of things. But this is some pretty cool stuff. So in today's talk, we're going to compare and contrast anatomy trains with the MYK system. So let's jump in. We're going to jump in and listen to this AI-generated conversation. I think you guys are going to like this. This is like really cool. All right, so let's dive in.
To Technique Talk. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today, we're going to be comparing and contrasting two very different approaches to treating the body.
Okay.
The MYK system and anatomy trains.
Sounds intriguing.
And get this, one of them claims to be able to resolve headaches in just 3 minutes.
3 minutes? Wow, that's fast.
Yeah, it's all about targeting the nervous system through very specific muscle manipulations.
Interesting. So like a quick fix.
Sort of, but it's based on the idea that posture is the outward expression of the nervous system. They even have a postural analysis chart to pinpoint nerve problems.
A chart, so they can see what's going on with your nerves just by looking at how you stand.
Exactly. It's like they've unlocked a secret code hidden in our posture.
I'm already hooked. Tell me more about this MYK system.
Well, they believe the nervous system controls everything in the body. So by addressing it directly, they can achieve fast and holistic results.
Now, it's not just that we believe that, that's actually a true statement. That is anatomy and physiology. If the nervous system isn't functioning, just think about it. If you break your neck way up high here, you lose function all the way down, but you don't lose function in the organs because the organs are all innervated by the vagus nerve, which comes directly off the brain and goes outside the spinal column down to all the organs. So that if you do happen to lose that communication, you can still be alive. But your muscles don't function anymore because you've lost the communication in the nervous system that way. So the nervous system, that's not just our thought, that is universally known. Okay.
The nervous system is like the control center, right?
That's their philosophy. And they have some impressive claims.
Like that 3-minute headache relief.
Yep. They also say they can treat plantar fasciitis in 5 treatments and restore mobility and frozen shoulders in just 4.
Hold on, 4 treatments for a frozen shoulder? That's incredible.
I know, right?
Incredible.
And there was even research to back it up. A study published in the Journal of Chiropractic Medicine reported 100% of participants experienced complete pain resolution.
Wow. That's pretty convincing. So how does one become a master of this MYK system?
They have a pretty structured learning path.
Oh.
It starts with an upper body course, then a lower body course,
Makes sense.
and finally a certification course.
So it's a whole...
And you don't have to take it in that order. You can do lower first and then upper first, just FYI.
whole system.
Yeah.
Now, what about anatomy trains? How does that fit into all of this?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Anatomy trains takes a completely different perspective. It's all about understanding the fascial network, this intricate web of connective tissue that runs throughout your whole body.
Fascia, that's the stuff that surrounds our muscles, right?
Exactly. And anatomy trains, developed by Tom Myers, is like a map of these fascial lines. It shows how they connect muscles into functional units.
So instead of focusing on individual muscles, it looks at how they all work together as part of a bigger system.
Precisely. It's like viewing the body as an interconnected web.
I see. So how does that translate into treating someone?
Well, by understanding these connections, practitioners can address the root cause of more complex postural and movement issues.
I get it. So it's not just treating the symptom, it's about understanding the bigger picture, right?
Exactly. And that can lead to more holistic and long-lasting results.
It sounds like both systems have their merits, but they approach things from very different angles.
Definitely. They have some intriguing similarities, but also some striking differences.
Okay, I'm ready to break it all down. Let's start with what they have in common.
Well, ultimately, both systems are striving for the same thing,
And what's that?
helping people feel better in their bodies.
Right,
I like that.
of course. So they're both about addressing pain and improving movement.
Exactly. They both require a deep understanding of anatomy and biomechanics.
Makes sense.
And they both develop specific techniques for assessment and treatment.
Okay, so they're both trying to unlock the body's natural healing potential, just in different ways.
That's a great way to put it. Now let's dive into what sets them apart.
All right, lay it on me. What are the key differences between these two approaches?
Well, I think the most obvious difference is their primary focus.
Okay, go on.
MYK is all about the nervous system, right?
Right.
While anatomy trains is all about the fascial network.
Ah, so their foundational principles are totally different.
And that leads to different treatment approaches as well.
How so?
MYK focuses on specific muscle manipulation techniques.
Uh-huh.
Their aim is to achieve quick, noticeable results.
Like rebooting the system.
Exactly. But anatomy trains takes a more holistic approach. They believe that restrictions in one area can affect distant parts of the body.
So it's less about quick fixes and more about understanding the interconnectedness of the whole body. Fascinating.
Now, with that being said, the MYK system, because we're getting specific with the nervous system as far as what we're trying to treat, you do get these changes holistically, but you get them very, very quickly. So this is where I'm going to disagree with the AI thing that they've put together. All right, here we go. We're going to keep going.
It's more targeted, while the other is more comprehensive.
You could say that.
That's right.
And their
disagree.
educational approaches seem to reflect that too. MYK has a clear 3-step program, while Anatomy Trains offers a more diverse range of learning experiences.
It's like they're offering different lenses through which to view the human body.
I love that analogy. So, do these techniques actually work? Do we see them being used effectively in the real world?
Absolutely. There are lots of athletes and medical professionals who rave about both the MYK system and anatomy trains.
Really? So they're both proven methods?
It seems so.
I'm not sure if the athletes and everything with anatomy trains, I'll go in and check on that. I haven't looked at that to see, but definitely with the MYK system.
In fact, both approaches are being used by professionals working with athletes in major leagues, like the MLB, NBA, and the NHL.
Wow, they must be doing something right if they're working with elite athletes.
Right. This has been a pretty fascinating deep dive so far. Gives us a lot to think about.
It really does. It's amazing how different approaches can both lead to positive outcomes.
Exactly. And I think it just goes to show how incredibly complex and multifaceted the human body really is.
For sure. We've covered a lot of ground already, but there's still so much more to explore.
Oh yeah, we're just getting started.
It just goes to show, there's no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to the body.
Absolutely. Everyone's different, and what works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
It's important to have all these different tools and approaches.
Definitely. So let's talk a little bit more about the specifics.
Okay.
What really stood out to you about the MYK system?
The thing that really got me was how they use muscle manipulation
Yeah.
to target the nervous system.
Okay.
It's like they're hitting these specific points that can then create a ripple effect throughout the whole body.
Yeah, like resetting the circuit breaker or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And that makes sense.
So with instead of hitting specific points, it's actually hitting specific muscles. So we're grouping the muscles, and that's how we're getting specific with the nervous system.
To the body's ability to kind of self-correct.
Yeah.
And by working on the nerve root, they get those really fast and pretty amazing results.
Yeah, it's like a shortcut to pain relief. But what about anatomy trains?
Yeah.
How does their approach differ?
So with anatomy trains, I think it's less about that immediate impact and more about a comprehensive, like long-term approach, because they're looking at the body as this interconnected web of fascia.
Yeah.
And they say that when you have a restriction in one area, it can create these imbalances in other parts of the body.
So they're really looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The whole body.
The balance.
The flow.
And that's where I disagree a little bit, because the MYK system is definitely looking at the whole body as well.
Instead of that one specific point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with anatomy trains, they use a lot of different techniques, like myofascial release and movement education to help address these fascial restrictions.
Interesting.
And then restore fluidity throughout the whole body.
Yeah, it's like instead of cutting the knot off,
Right.
you're slowly unraveling it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's less about the quick fix and more about creating those lasting changes by getting to the root of the problem. So
Now that's where, again, the MYK system, we do get lasting changes. So I disagree a little bit with the AI generated conversation that we're having, but I am fascinated by how quickly this thing put together a conversation, a podcast for us. I don't know if you guys are interested, but my goodness, I'm actually enjoying this. So hopefully you guys are. Give me a comment if you're actually enjoying this. If you think this is worthwhile, put a comment in there so that I'll do this again.
The same outcome.
Right.
Less pain, more mobility.
Yeah.
But going about it in very different ways.
Very different paths.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so interesting about comparing these two systems.
Yeah.
It really shows you that there's all these different ways that you can work with the body, and there isn't just one right answer.
It's like having all these different tools in a toolbox.
Right.
Sometimes you need a hammer, sometimes you need a screwdriver.
Exactly. You got to know which tool to use for the job.
So as we're learning about these two different systems, what are some of the key takeaways?
Okay.
Yeah. I think one of the most important things to remember is that both MYK and anatomy trains offer really valuable insight into how the body works and how to address, pain and dysfunction. But they each have their strengths and their limitations. So, the best approach is really going to depend on the individual and what they need.
So finding the right approach for that person.
Yeah. What resonates with them?
Yeah.
Well, and that's something that I always say in class also is my philosophy is every technique that's out there works. But it comes down to, is this technique going to work for that person? And that's kind of what we play around with. So, I always say the MYK system doesn't work 100% of the time. Anatomy trains doesn't work 100% of the time. Medication doesn't work 100% of the time. Surgery doesn't work 100% of the time. Nothing out there works 100% of the time. If it did, there'd be no reason and no need to have anything else. So there's a reason that we have different professions. There's a reason that we have all the different techniques. And so we're going to continue.
Understanding of their own body.
And it's important to remember that these two systems aren't mutually exclusive, like they can work together.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
They complement each other really well.
Yeah. How so?
Well, let's say someone has chronic back pain.
Okay.
They might really benefit from the MYK system and getting some quick relief from that pain.
Right.
But then to really address the problem, long term, they might need to look at some of the underlying fascial restrictions that anatomy trains would address.
So using
which is a valid point right there, but we also have some research and some published research about low back pain and how well this works, and not just in the short term, but in the long term as well. So that's why I say this is this is also a long-term treatment that we give with the MYK system.
Yeah.
The targeted approach and the more holistic approach.
The best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So creating this truly personalized treatment plan.
Exactly. And it just goes to show that bodywork is constantly evolving as we learn more about the body.
Yeah.
There's new approaches and techniques coming out all the time.
That's what makes it so exciting.
Right.
Yeah.
There's always something new to learn.
Yeah.
Always.
But before we go too far, let's come back to the two systems we've been talking about.
Okay.
Can you summarize the key similarities and differences?
Sure. So first, the similarities.
Okay.
Both systems really emphasize a deep understanding of anatomy. That's the foundation for treatment. They both recognize that pain and dysfunction often come from these underlying imbalances. And they're both ultimately trying to restore the body's natural ability to move freely without pain.
So at their core, they have the same goal.
Same goal.
To help us move better, feel better.
Exactly.
I like
what about
that.
the differences? So I think one of the biggest differences is their focus.
Okay.
The MYK system is really all about the nervous system.
Right.
It sees that as the control center that governs everything.
It does.
Whereas anatomy trains is highlighting the fascial network.
Okay.
And how that impacts posture movement, overall well-being. And that leads them to have different treatment philosophies.
Yeah.
MYK is all about speed and efficiency. Find those specific points.
Yeah.
Get that nerve root targeted.
Exactly.
Quick relief.
Right.
Anatomy trains is taking that more holistic approach.
Yes.
Really looking at the whole body.
Whole picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even their educational pathways
Totally different.
are different.
Yeah.
You've got that structured 3-course certification program
Yep.
with MYK. Anatomy Trains has a much more diverse range of learning experiences.
Yeah, like some short workshops.
Yeah.
All the way to, really intensive training programs.
So two totally different.
Yeah.
But valid.
Approaches.
Yeah. Yeah, one is like, very precise laser. Mm-hmm. You find the problem.
Yeah.
You target it. You try and fix it right away. Mm-hmm. Anatomy Cranes is like this gentle wave.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. That slowly restores balance to the whole system.
Beautiful.
So instead of slowly restoring balance with the MYK system, we get almost immediate results as soon as the person stands up. And so that's one of the good things. And as far as a laser approach to care, one of the examples I always use is, would you rather go to a medical doctor that says, here is the one pill that you need to take to get rid of your problem, or here, and I'm not saying Anatomy Trains does it this way, but here are 30 different pills, and take all of them, and one of them surely will help your issue, right? So you want to get more specific. The more specific you can be, the more consistent, repeatable results that you're going to get. And so that's one of the benefits, I think. And of course, I'm a little biased because I teach the MYK system and I use the MYK system on a daily basis. But the more specific you can be and the more consistent, repeatable results you get, then, the more confidence you get in your treatments and day-to-day work. All right, let's jump back in.
About which one's better or worse.
Right.
It's about finding which one works.
Exactly.
Best for you.
For you.
This has been such an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
Always more to learn.
Always.
But I think our listeners probably feeling a lot more informed.
Yeah, hopefully.
About these two systems. Mm-hmm. But I want to go a little deeper into the real world applications. Mm-hmm. We talked about them being used by professionals working with athletes.
Yeah.
But what about the average person?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Because even though these systems have become really popular in the athletic world, their benefits actually go way beyond just professional sports.
Mm-hmm.
They can be really helpful for anyone who's experiencing pain, limited mobility, or just wants to improve their overall well-being.
So how would someone use these techniques in everyday life?
Okay, so let's say, for example, someone is dealing with chronic headaches.
Okay.
A practitioner trained in MYK might be able to look at them, see that there's a specific muscle imbalance or a nerve impingement that's contributing to those headaches.
Right.
And then they would use very targeted manipulations to alleviate the pain quickly.
What about anatomy train?
Now, before we get into Anatomy Train, so one of the things that we're also going to look at is there's specific postural imbalances that are going to go with different types of headaches, and we can figure out what treatment needs to be done based off the postural imbalances, which would go with what she was saying as far as the muscle imbalances pulling you off in a certain way or things like that. So, all right, let's get into Anatomy Trains. What do they do?
So an Anatomy Trains practitioner might take a broader look at that person, assess their posture, how they're moving, and their overall fascial health. And they might find that there's some restrictions in the neck, the shoulders, maybe even the hips that are causing tension in the head. And then they would use myofascial release to address those imbalances.
So both could address the headache.
Right, but in different ways.
Yeah. So it sounds like both MYK and Anatomy Trains have a lot to offer. Not just for athletes, but for everyone.
For everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really great tools to help us understand how to address pain, how to restore mobility, and really just enhance our sense of being in our bodies.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive.
It has been.
I've enjoyed it.
There's always more to learn.
Oh yeah, we've just scratched the surface here.
But what makes it so exciting is that we can keep learning.
Exactly.
We can keep exploring.
Always keep exploring.
And finding new ways to improve our well-being.
That's what it's all about.
So much to learn about the body.
I know, right?
All right, well, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into MYK and Anatomy Trains.
It's been fun.
But before we go,
yes,
I want to leave our listener with a final thought.
Okay, shoot.
We've talked about all the technical stuff,
techniques, theories.
Yeah, all that. But what's really important, I think, is how this knowledge helps us take care of our own bodies.
Absolutely. It's about understanding how our bodies work, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's not just about, finding the right practitioner or the perfect technique.
No.
It's about understanding ourselves.
Yeah.
Listening to our bodies and taking
Yes.
care of them.
Being proactive.
Exactly. So as we end our deep dive today, I want to encourage our listeners to think about what they've learned.
Yeah.
And how they can use it in their own lives.
Maybe it sparks some curiosity to explore one of these systems further.
Yeah. Or maybe just to pay more attention to what their body's telling them.
Exactly. However you choose to move forward, just remember the journey to better health and well-being.
Yeah.
It's a constant process of learning and discovery.
Well said. And on that note, we say goodbye to our listeners.
Night, everyone.
Hopefully with a new appreciation for the power of bodywork.
Yeah.
And the amazing potential we have to heal and transform.
Absolutely.
That was really cool. I don't know about you guys. I would like to hear if you enjoyed that or not. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought that was super cool. All right, so that was Technique Talk, the MYK System and more. The MYK System and the anatomy trains, or the MYK System versus the anatomy trains. So I thought that was really good. So we're going to end it here. Hopefully you guys got something out of that. If you made it this far, smile.